Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, welcome to this session of a very important topic. And this topic is quite broad: pathology, medicine, and community and preventive medicine. Today, we will be discussing HIV/AIDS and sexually transmitted disease. And we will be focusing on the control and the prevention part of this. The other aspects will be elaborated in the other discipline lecture, like the medicine and the pathology. So start with our learning objectives for this lecture. Today's session is that the student will learn the epidemiological features of HIV/AIDS, mode of spread of AIDS, and the 4 basic approaches to control of the AIDS. We'll also learn in this lecture about the sexually transmitted disease, and we'll be learning about the epidemiological determinants and also the primary and secondary prevention of sexually transmitted disease. These 2 topics are combined together because their epidemiological determinants are very much alike. So proceed. I'm going to share breaking news of time. It was 25th April 2019 when the local administration in the Larkana district was alerted by the media reports. It was on all the media, on the television, that there was a surge of HIV cases among the children in the Retodero, Larkana district, Sindh province, Pakistan. And from 25th April to 28 June, in a small period of around 2 to 3 months, total of 30,000 people were screened, and out of them, 876 were found positive. And very surprisingly, out of this 876, 82% of these were below the age of 15 years. And during the screening, in this limited territory, several risk factors were identified, which are included unsafe intravenous injection during the medical procedure. There was rather abuse of the medical technology while treating the patients. Unsafe injections were used. The same syringe was used for the multiple children. There was unsafe child delivery practices in the area, and also was found that the unsafe practices at the blood banks in that region. The infection control programs were poorly implemented in there, and the syringes were reused. And there was improper collection, storage, segregation, and disposal of the hospital waste. And this was not the first case. This was the 4th reported outbreak of HIV in the Larkana district since 2003. The first outbreak was in 2003, which was among the drug injectors who inject the drugs for the addiction. And the second was among the 12 pediatric patients in the pediatric hospital in 2016. And the third the report which came into the attention was in 2016 was among the 206 patients in a dialysis unit. With this, now we are knowing that HIV/AIDS is present in Pakistan, and I just share with you the history of the HIV/AIDS in Pakistan. In Pakistan, first case was in 1987, an African sailor was diagnosed and died in Karachi. I was doing the house job. It was a medical unit 1 of the Civil Hospital Karachi, and I was the member of that team who suspected at that time HIV term was not used. HTLV3 was the name for this virus, and it was the first time when a patient was diagnosed, and this patient ultimately died in the few days after that. 1987, the first Pakistani citizen were diagnosed AIDS in Lahore. In the same year, the first husband and wife child transmission was found, HIV, in the Rawalpindi. And then in 1993, the first breastfed baby got the AIDS from the parents in the Karachi. And 2015, the journey of this disease started in Pakistan in 1987. And by 2015, the number of estimated cases increased to more than 1 lakh. So it was 0.1% of the adult population. The last data which is available with me is of the May 2019. The total estimated cases in Pakistan HIV/AIDS 2 years back data is 1,65,000, while the total reported cases of HIV/AIDS in our country are 36,000. And we know how is the reporting common in Pakistan. We do not report so many things, and HIV is a stigma. It is not reported. It is not. They don't take medical care, so diagnosis is not made. HIV positive patients who are on the antiretroviral treatment are 17,149 ART treatment. WHO has defined the epidemic definition for the AIDS HIV. Number one is a low level. Look at this, the low line. If less than 1% general population and less than 5% the high risk groups, we will be defining what are the high risk groups. It is called the low level epidemic. And concentrated epidemic is called when it is more than 5% the high risk groups, but it is still less than 1% the general population. The epidemic HIV epidemic, AIDS epidemic is called generalized epidemic when greater than 1% in the general population are affected with this disease. Pakistan is following a typical Asian epidemic model. This model was seen in the other countries of the region, especially Thailand, where the disease was first present in the injectable drug users, and ultimately it is spread to the sexual workers. Then it is brought to the general population, to the other females, to the children born to the females, etc. So look at this graph. This graph is showing, number one, this blue line is the injectable drug users, and this red line is the female sex workers, and the light blue line is the male sex workers. So the typical Asian epidemic starts among the IDUs. IDUs mean injectable drug users, and is explosive in nature because they share the syringes and the other things, and it very rapidly spreads among this population. While the epidemic is progressing, the infection might not show among the general population, but in 5 to 8 years' time, another at-risk population, which is usually the sex workers, they start getting infected. So the infection starts appearing in the general population in another 5 to 10 years and becomes impossible to control. This is called the Asian model of the spread of the HIV and AIDS. Now, with this knowledge, so far we have discussed, look at the estimated prevalence of the HIV/AIDS in the Karachi key population. Again, in this line, this red one, the upper line is the injectable drug users, and the dark blue line is the female sexual workers, and this yellowish line is homosexual or the male sexual workers. In 1990, almost the HIV/AIDS was not present in Karachi. Slowly it started. First it started in the injectable drug users and rapidly increased in that. And what we have studied in the previous slide, that in 5 to 10 years time, the female sexual workers started affecting, and then the male sexual workers also started affecting. Then there is a rapid rise. We are at this 2021 and it is spreading. And look at this, the prevalence adults living with the HIV, the prevalence is quite high now. It is in the range of the 40, 50, 60%. It means if we check the drug users, almost 60% of them, 50 to 60% of them are affected even by this time. If we check the female sexual workers, 30, 40% of them are affected by this time in the Karachi, and this rate will increase. Once it starts increasing, it will spread to the general population. And it has spread to the general population in Pakistan, Sindh, and Karachi. And once it is in the general population, it becomes very difficult to control. So our energies and our skills should be directed towards controlling. With COVID-19 pandemic, what we have learned, the diseases are controlled in the community. You cannot control the disease in the hospital. You cannot build so many hospitals, so many expensive. And what you get from the hospital is just the treatment, prolonging the life. But if you work in the community, if you look at the risk factor, you will be controlling the disease. Initially, it looks quite expensive work, but this is very cost effective because only health education and the other factors are involved. No technology, no costly equipments are involved. We will be looking at this aspect in detail in the lecture as we move forward. Now, with this background of the HIV/AIDS in Pakistan, in the Karachi, now we come to our subject. To control any disease, especially infectious disease, we should have some knowledge about the disease, about the agent, about the causative organism, about the host, about the mode of the spread. This is the way we can control the disease once we know all the ins and out of the disease. So, coming to the AIDS, AIDS is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. It's a fatal illness which is caused by a retrovirus known as human immunodeficiency virus, HIV. As I've told previously, it was called HTLV3, but now the only name is the HIV. The virus breaks down the body immune system and it leaves the victim vulnerable to the host of life-threatening opportunistic infections. Neurological disorders are the unusual malignancies. There are a lot of organisms which are present in our body, but our body immune system is usually so strong, they live friendly with our body. But when our immune system is weakened, these organisms which are friendly in a healthy person, they create such sort of the difficult type of the infection that it is very difficult to treat. Even these apparently benign or the innocent organism. The term AIDS and HIV, these are two terms. HIV means the person is infected with the virus of the HIV, while the term AIDS refers only to the last stage of the HIV infection. So we can say AIDS and HIV are the two corners of the same line. HIV is the initial infection. When we say a person is suffering from HIV, it means the organism is in the body, the person is infected, may spread the infection to the other person. But when we label it as AIDS, it means the person is symptomatic, it's suffering badly from the disease, and it's near the terminal stage of his life. Recognized as an emerging disease in the early 1980s, it has rapidly established itself throughout the world and is likely to endure and persist well into the 21st century. Before this COVID pandemic, the AIDS was the main epidemic all around the world which threatened the life of the human being. But unfortunately, the COVID-19 has superseded this disease apparently. But I think the control of COVID is a bit easy because we have developed vaccine. But for the AIDS and HIV, it is likely to endure and persist well into the 21st century. AIDS has evolved from a mysterious illness to a global pandemic which has infected tens of the millions of the people. Our scientists and the researchers were able to diagnose, to find the reasons, and to the details of the COVID disease very early. But it was not so with the AIDS. It remained a mysterious illness for some time, and till it killed millions, tens of millions of the people. Promising development have been seen in the recent years in the global efforts to address the AIDS epidemic, including the increased access to effective treatment in the prevention programs. But the number of the people living with AIDS continue to grow. We will go into the detail of the mode of spread and the high risk people. So the number of the people are continually increasing, and so is the number of deaths also due to AIDS. Now we come to the epidemiological feature. This is the most important part of the lecture. If we want to know how we can control the AIDS, what are the methods? First, we should know in detail epidemiological features of this virus. So let's look at the virus details. The agent factor means HIV virus. Agent is a virus which is very small in size, 1/10,000 of a millimeter in diameter. The virus has a unique ability to destroy the human T helper cells, which are the main part of the human defense system. The virus is easily killed by the heat. But the mode of transmission is like that. You cannot use the heat at dead places. You cannot boil the blood. you cannot boil your body. So this part is only used where we have to sterile the instrument dissector. This virus is readily inactivated by the acetone and ethanol, but surprisingly, it is relatively resistant to the ionizing radiation and the ultraviolet light. These ionizing radiation, ultraviolet lights are used very much in sterilizing the equipments. Reservoir of the infection of the HIV/AIDS. These are the cases and the carriers. Carrier means if a person is infected with a virus, once infected, the virus remains in the body lifelong. One cannot get rid of this virus. If once is entered into the body and becomes a person infected with this. A symptomless person, we call carrier here, can infect others for the people for the years and years before he becomes symptomatic and is called as a cases. So cases and the carriers are both the reservoir. One may aware of the cases. If the person is sick, you can take precautions. But how you can take precautions for the person who is carrier, who is not sick, he is just spreading the infection. Source of infection, this virus, HIV virus, is found in the great concentration in the blood, semen, and the CSF. Lower concentrations has been detected in the tears, saliva, breast milk, urine, cervical, and vaginal secretions. To date only, blood and the semen have been conclusively shown to transmit the virus. Host factor, who is affected with the virus or particular disease, is called the host factor. Like in the COVID pandemic, we see that the children are less affected, older age people are more affected, and if affected, they have poor prognostic factors in them and the bad consequences. So similarly, if we look at the host factor of the HIV virus, age, most cases occurred among the sexually active person 20 to 40 years of age. This is very alarming. 20 to 40 years of age persons are affected, and in 5 to 10 years time, they become actively diseased person with the symptoms, and 5 to 10 years time, they die. Children under 15 years of age make up less than 3% of the cases. Now, at this point, if we recall our second or third slide, the outbreak in the Larkana, Retrodero, 87% of the affected were the children under 15 years of age, while the international data tell us that the children are affected less than 3% of the cases. Now the sex. In the North America, Europe and Australia, 51% of cases are homosexual or bisexual males, while in Africa, sex ratio is equal. Male and female are both are affected. So with the discussion, now we can point out what are the high-risk groups. High-risk groups are male, homosexual, and bisexuals. Highest high-risk group. Then heterosexual partners, including the prostitutes. So with this, we can conclude that the sexual transmission is one of the main source or the way of transmission of the disease. Now comes the intravenous drug abusers. Very rapidly, disease transmits among this population. Then come the transfusion recipients of the blood products. How much we avoid the blood transfusion? We have to transfuse the blood in our practice. There's so many persons with the trauma, bleeding, need blood to save their life. Similarly, even at this time in a civil hospital, lot of operations are being carried out. Lot of bleeding during the operation, emergency operation, C-section, hysterectomies, other laparotomies, lot of things, traumas, etc. So it has to be transfused. But even if you test the blood with whatever method, there are some chances that the HIV infection and the other infection can be transmitted. And if the blood is not screened, the chances of transmission is very much high. As we have discussed previously, the symptomless persons who are infected with HIV but not in the AIDS, they're not symptomatic, they donate the blood, they even don't know themselves that they are suffering from the HIV infection. And when this blood is transmitted to the person, the disease is transmitted. Now the fifth one is the clients of sexually transmitted diseases. We'll be discussing in detail at the end with the 10-15 minutes the sexually transmitted disease. The clients means the persons who goes to those persons, prostitute, female or male sexual workers who take their services. They will be affected with the AIDS if they are suffering from the person, the service provider is suffering from the AIDS or the sexually transmitted diseases. Sexual transmission is on the top, then the blood contact. There is another way along with the injectable drug users. Then there is maternal fetal transmission also. Mother to child, the disease is transmissible and is transmitted. There is no evidence. These we have discussed about what are the ways of transmission of the HIV. Now, let's see what are the ways where the HIV cannot be transmitted through the mosquito and any other insect. Once upon a time, it was a very popular idea that if the mosquito bites a person and sucks the blood and inject the blood to the other person. But the evidence has shown that through the mosquito bite or any other insect bite, the HIV infection cannot be transmitted. Similarly, casual social contact with the infected person, handshaking, food taking, water, same glass, same utensils, the disease cannot be transmitted if the things are limited to the casual social contact. There is no evidence of a spray to the health workers in their professional contacts. So, looking at this ways where the HIV is not transmitted, we should have sympathy to the persons who is suffering from the AIDS. And we know in the social and the standard ways of practicing medicine, animal social contact, the disease cannot be transmitted. The disease is transmitted by the sexual transmission, parental way, injectable drugs, etc., blood contacts, or the maternal-fetal transmission. In the ways where the disease is not transmitted, we have discussed in detail just now. Now we come into the control of the AIDS. That is the main objective of this lecture, to learn how we can control the AIDS. So there are 4 basic approaches to control of the AIDS, HIV AIDS rather we should say. Number 1 is a prevention. Prevention includes education and prevention of the blood-borne HIV transmission. We will be discussing these 2 in the detail in the next slide. While there are other ways, antiretroviral treatment, which keeps the infectivity of the person to a very low level. Then there is specific prophylaxis. If someone gets into contact with a person, HIV, have a causal contact or accidental contact, whatever, there is a way of giving this antiretroviral drugs to prevent that person getting infected. And most important thing is the primary health care, which is the basic control of all the diseases, starting from the infectious diseases to the non-communicable diseases, to the hypertension, to the diabetes, to the even oncology diseases. Primary healthcare is the main source of prevention. So coming to the education, we should very clearly know until a vaccine is available or a magic cure is found for the AIDS, the only means at present available is the health education. The only way preventing to get infected from the HIV AIDS is the health education. Health education, here we mean, what we mean by the health education? It means to enable people to make life-saving choices. Life-saving choices means educate a person to know how this disease is transmitted, make his attitude change so he can practice the safe living practices. What are those? We can give some examples here. Avoiding indiscriminate sex. The key principle, avoid indiscriminate sex and using of condom not avoiding, but using of condom. But one thing is there, using condom still give no guarantee that the disease will not be transmitted. Even when the condom, there are chances, although the chances are less, but there are chances. So on the top remains, avoid indiscriminate sex. Be loyal to your partner. Then other things are, which are minor, but we sometimes do not give proper attention. Avoid use of the shared razors or the toothbrushes. Usually toothbrushes are not shared generally, but shared razors. Yes, we go to the hairdresser, haircut, shaving, the ladies go to the beauty parlor. There's so many things which are shared, and we should avoid the use of the shared razors. Now coming to the other part, intravenous drug user should be informed that the sharing needles and the syringes involve special risk. We should avoid the addiction. We should create the situation where the person is not depressed and do not go to use of the addiction. Should not be in company of those people, those friends, which make him drug addict. And those who are drug addict should know sharing needles in the syringes will lead them to be infected with the AIDS. Women suffering from the AIDS should avoid becoming pregnant since the infection can be transmitted to the newborn. If the one is infected by any way, by chance, by mistake, whatever, he or she should not carry this misery to the next generation. They should simply avoid becoming pregnant. Educational material and the guidance should be made widely available. If we do not know how to save ourselves, how we can practice. So all mass media channels be involved in educating the people on the AIDS. This is very important use. The mass media channels are obviously for the news, and the breaking news, for the entertainment, drama, film, picture, other things. But they should also help us in making our life healthy and comfortable. Though they should also give some information about how to save ourselves from the AIDS and the other diseases. Okay, sorry for the disruption. We were discussing that until a vaccine is available or a cure is found, the only choice we have is a health education. We have defined health education, and people in the high risk, we have heard that the people in the high risk group should be advised not to donate the blood, organs, or semen, and blood should be screened for HIV before transfusion. Strict sterilization practices should be ensured in the hospitals and the clinics. In the pre-sterilized disposable syringes and needles should be used. And one should avoid injection unless they are very necessary. This is a very important aspect of healthcare practice in Pakistan. And from the Larkana incident where a lot of children were affected, the lesson learned was that one should avoid using injection, whether injectable IM or intravenous subcutaneous, unless they are very necessary. So it is important to remember also that the babies can acquire HIV infection during pregnancy, labor and delivery, and some risk is there with the breastfeeding. And keeping in this mind will help one to understand the infant diagnosis and to stress the parents. Now, this is a very good chart and it describes all the things what we have discussed. It is for the general public and it should be placed at the prominent places in the hospital, OPDs, outpatient departments, etc. It tells us AIDS is spread by which means, and AIDS does not spread with that thing. So we should not put stigma to a patient suffering from the AIDS. We should be sympathetic to him, but at the same time, we should continue our practices not to spread the disease. So all the things which we have discussed in the last 30 minutes are very well described pictorial here. So now we moving to the next part of our presentation of this lecture, that is a sexually transmitted disease. HIV/AIDS and the sexually transmitted disease, these both are grouped together because the epidemiological features, the mode of transmission is always the same. If we are convincing a person to be safe from the AIDS, he will be safe from the STDs. So sexually transmitted disease are a group of communicable diseases which are transmitted predominantly by the sexual contact and caused by a wide range of bacterial, viral, protozoal, and the fungal infection. There is a very wide range. And AIDS is also an STD. The agent factors, over 20 pathogens are found to spread by the sexual contact. Host factors, the highest incidence is at 20 to 24 years. The adventurous age, the curious age. Sex overall morbidity is higher in the males, but the STDs are more severe in the female. Marital status, higher among the single, diverse, and the separated persons. Socioeconomic status, more in the lower socioeconomic group. With the description, we can have a clear picture of who are at high risk of getting STDs. The demographic factors are that the certain demographic features contribute to increase in the STD in the developing countries rather. These include population expansion and increase in the number of the young population. So the social factors, if we go into detail, numerous social and behavioral factors are involved in the spread of STD. Prostitution, the main factor. Broken homes ultimately also leads to the prostitution. Sexual disharmony, wants to get satisfaction from other places. Easy money, when there is easy money without hard working, the way of spending that money is what is described in the first A. Social disruption, urbanization and industrialization. When the places where nobody knows no one, anything may happen there. International travel. Once upon a time, before the COVID pandemic, Thailand and other things were supposed to be famous for this. Social stigma, changing behavioral patterns, and alcoholism. A to J, these are all the social factors which contribute in the spread of the STDs, also the AIDS. Now, coming to our domain, that is the control of the disease. It's the control of the STDs here. Regarding the STDs, the control of STD is the prevention of the ill health. The aim of control of STD is the prevention of ill health resulting from the above conditions through the various intervention. There are two types of intervention: primary intervention focus, primary prevention focus, and secondary prevention focus. Primary prevention focus is basically the prevention of the infection. And the secondary prevention focus is minimizing the adverse health effects of the infection. So the control of sexually transmitted disease may be considered under the following heads. Number one is the initial planning, intervention strategies, support component, and monitoring and evaluation. For the initial planning, we need the problem definition, and we have to establish the priorities, and then setting the objectives, and then consider the strategies. We will discuss a bit detail the intervention strategies. Number one is the case reduction. The most important thing is to find out a person who is suffering from the STDs, to treat the STD, because AIDS is not difficult to treat in a way we can say, but the STDs can be treated. So if we find a person suffering from the disease, we can treat him, we can make him stop spreading the infection. But it is not easy to find a case. No one come to a doctor and say, I'm suffering from the STD. So the usual methods of early detection in the STD control program are screening and contact tracing, and third is a cluster testing. We'll see in detail because these are the essence of the prevention. Screening means testing on apparently healthy volunteer from the general population for the early detection of the cases. And what are these volunteers? There is no one volunteer in Pakistan, probably. So, though higher priority is given to the special groups, pregnant women, every woman who is coming for the antenatal checkup is usually having and should have screening tests for the HIV and for the syphilis, etc. Then comes the blood donor. A person is going to donate the blood. He should be screened for that. Institutional workers, joining the army, joining any service, police, refugees, prostitutes, convicts, etc. They all needs to be screened, and usually they are screened. Then second thing is a contact tracing. It's a technique by which the sexual partners of the diagnosed patients are identified, investigated, and treated. If we find a person, for example, a pregnant woman comes, she's healthy, but by the routine screening, we find that she's suffering from some STD, then we need to investigate his husband. Whether he's suffering, then he should go for the more investigation and the full treatment. Then there is a third way, is a cluster testing. Cluster testing means the person who is by screening is found to be suffering from the disease is asked to name the other person of the either set who move in the same socioeconomic environment, group of friends, etc. These persons are then screened. These things give benefit to that person and to the community both. Then after the screening, then there is next thing is a case holding and the treatment. Once you diagnose a case, if you do not treat that, there is no meaning. So adequate treatment of the patient and their contact is the mainstay of the STD control. You treat the person, he will no more spread the disease. Then there is epidemiological treatment. It is also called the contact treatment. Full dose treatment is those recently exposed person is given who are not showing the sign symptoms, or the diagnostic test is not positive, but even they are in the incubation period. Then come the personal prophylaxis method. From the sexually transmitted disease, there are ways where one can prevent himself, save himself. That is the use of the contraceptive, especially the mechanical barriers, condom and the diaphragms. Then there are certain vaccines which are available. Hepatitis B vaccine. Hepatitis B can be transmitted and is transmitted by the sexual transmission. Similarly, there is another disease, human papillomavirus. It is also an STD. There is a vaccine available, very good vaccine available against the hepatitis B vaccine. It's a part of the EPI program, and the adults can also get this vaccine by paying a small amount. And then human papillomavirus vaccine, the Cervarix vaccine is available, and it is given to the teenage girls before they enter into the sexual period. Very good vaccine. It prevents the human papillomavirus HPV infection, and at the same time, this makes some prevention from the survival concern. Health education. Obviously, health education is integral part of the sexually transmitted disease control aim, and the aim is to help the individual to alter his behavior. Look, what we have seen in the AIDS and the STD, it's the behavior of a person. Who indulge the behavior makes a person to get into those circumstances, addiction, drug user, indiscriminate sex, etc., which makes him vulnerable to be suffered from these diseases. There are certain support component, STD clinics, laboratory services, primary health care, in the information system. Also, some legislation is also required for the control of the STDs. With this, I here conclude my session and stop sharing with this, and I will be answering your questions now. In the chat, the students, if you have put your question, I can answer that. Let me see. Yes, chat के अंदर students, you please type your HIV. Okay, ji. Muiz Tariq, only one question so far, what I can see. I think my connection was lost, so maybe the student have put some questions. So I request them to type them again, and I will be answering the next 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes. Now I read the first question. This is Muiz Tariq. Very good question. Is there a specific reason why vaccine availability is not there for the HIV? I'm not a vaccine expert in a way of developing the vaccine. Yes, there are specific reasons why the vaccines are not developed against the certain diseases. Look, against the COVID pandemic, there are 10-20 diseases available, vaccines available being used in just a year time. But malaria is a very killer disease. Hepatitis C is a killer disease. and similarly HIV. Before this COVID pandemic, HIV threatened the world. It caused million deaths, but vaccine could not be developed due to certain reasons. There are many vaccines on the way for the HIV, but promising there is no vaccine which is promising for that. Similarly with the malaria and the hepatitis C also. Okay. Now, next question is the same from the name is not written. Third question is from the Summer full name is not written. You said only blood and the semen transmit HIV. So how it is transmitted in the breastfeeding babies? Till date, the confirmed way of transmission is the sexual transmission and the parental transmission and by the vertical transmission. The virus is present in the breast milk in the small amount. Whether it can transmit the disease or not, it is not well established. But when a baby is born to the mother suffering from the HIV, the probability is that it is already transmitted while in the fetus was there or while at the time of delivery. So the exact breastfeeding cannot be blamed for the transmission of the HIV, but at the same time, a small amount of the low concentration is found in the breast milk. So there are specific recommendations whether to breastfeed or not country-wise. Hamza Iqbal Saab, if some doctor got pricked with the POS patient, what measure can take himself from the getting infected? POS, I cannot understand what is meant by POS. If a person accidentally pricked with a person who is suffering from some disease, we have to make it clear what disease is suffering. For example, if a person is suffering from the hepatitis B, then there is a specific treatment for that. Number one, doctor should be vaccinated. If doctor is not vaccinated, person is suffering, the patient is suffering from the hepatitis B, then you should get immediately the specific hepatitis B immunoglobulin, and at the same time he should be started vaccination with the hepatitis B. If a person, whether doctor or someone else, is exposed by the exposed definition what we have discussed, with the person suffering from the AIDS, there is a package of treatment of drugs which are to be given to that person, so person may not get infected if those treatment is started in time. In the civil hospital Karachi, our hospital, there is an HIV/AIDS center where these facilities are available to the general public and to the doctor. Now, Muiz Tariq, is there a legislative measure for prevention of STD and HIV jet? Not exactly. Even in a general population, you cannot do the test of HIV. But if a person comes to you for a specific person, like for the pregnancy, or a person is admitted into the jail, or is in employment, pre-employment, yes, HIV and the other things can be screened. But by legislation, it cannot be done still, but it may come in the later time. Increased chance of STD transmission sexually or parentally. STDs are mainly transmitted sexually, but some of them can be transmitted parentally also. Depends upon which type. The different types, syphilis, gonorrhea, etc., which are mainly transmitted by the sexual contact. But on the other hand, HIV or hepatitis B, hepatitis C, these can be transmitted by the parental also. Muiz Tariq, can clergy and religious authorities be included in the health education measure for STD and HIV? Actually, it was a 60-minute time and all details I was not able to tell you. Yes, there is a special program of the government of Pakistan that is called the AIDS control program. Now it has collaborated into the general health system. It was a project for the last 15-20 years. And the religious and the other authorities was included, and specific targets were achieved by this. Behavior change component was a part of the program. Obviously, religious authorities are an integral part, and they are included in the prevention strategies, obviously. Now the question is, major cause of break in the Larkana is due to razor from the dresser. It is not known. All the blames are put to a doctor who was using the same syringe for the different patients, but that was not exactly 100% reason for that. Multiple factor. Everything was out of the norms. Razors, same syringes, and improper disposal of the waste of the hospital, etc., the delivery practices, every contributing factor was there. There is a comment from the Moiz Tariq. It was a comprehensive and informative lecture. Thank you. If there is no more comments, I don't want that comment. I want some question to be asked. If there is no more question, we can stop the session. Is there any legal action if someone gives someone HIV deliberately? Yes, obviously legal action is there if someone gives deliberately HIV. For healthcare personnel, there are specific instructions that we should practice the standard care practices. There is a healthcare commission in the Sindh, it is named as the Sindh Healthcare Commission, and it inspects every hospital, it inspects every clinic. They have to inspect, sometimes they don't inspect, they have started working, and all should follow the standard practices. Very clear package and instruction is there, and the hospital is registered, the clinic is registered according to that, and if someone violates, that hospital is sealed, stop practicing, and the legal action is obviously taken. The inquiry board is set up there, and the punishment is there. Okay, thank you, students. Hope to see you soon as the COVID pandemic decreases, and we will be happy to do a physical session with you. Thank you.